Lovelies. It's so wonderful for you all to have made it. Thank you so much, Sharon.
How
It's
are you?
insane,
Yeah.
insane, slightly insane. I'm all right. I had
Slightly insane. Okay.
on a
Okay.
scale of 1 to 10 of insanity, I'm on about a 6. So I'm doing quite well, really,
Not
considering
bad.
the stress that I'm suffering from here.
Mm,
How are
mm.
you?
Oh, considering I was given 2 hours of chilling out, I thought, whoa,
Really? Oh, I'm
you
sorry. It's contagious, isn't
know,
it?
you
Stress.
take so much in suddenly, don't you? You think, oh, I've got loads of time. And I've literally just stuffed the last mouthful of a sandwich in my mouth.
Hey, how are you?
I'm about a 6 or 7
About 6 or 7.
on the scale of insanity.
I think that's fair to say when you're under a lot of stress and you haven't got time.
Yeah.
That is how that feels, isn't it? That stress level. It
Mm.
feels like, okay, if I go any higher, I'm going to just have to stop and say, pause, please, because I can't do any more. This is Sharon Horwood,
Hello.
UK Integrative Counsellor, and Kay Cohen, UK Integrative Counsellor. And I'm Tamsin Blake, UK Integrative Counsellor. And we're here to talk about things therapy or therapy related things. We're going to try and do sort of like a book club, aren't we?
We are,
That's what
but
we
I
do.
need to correct that already.
Go on.
I'm not integrative.
Okay.
I'm pluralistic or eclectic, but I'm mainly person-centered.
Okay. So are you saying that your qualification is person-centered, but you've adopted or you use other
Yeah,
modalities and
well, the
techniques?
qualification is literally therapeutic counselling from a person-centered point of view. And since then, I've adopted other modalities as well. So I've done for counsellors, I did a certificate in TA, transactional analysis, and obviously I've done other mini courses as well. Um, and then I did therapeutic counselling, which covered a few modalities at Counselling on Sea. So that's equivalent to a level 5, and that covers a few.
Just thinking, and we did all that, included on my diploma, like all those different modalities. We did it on the course. So it's pretty much the same. Yeah.
Yeah, see, my understanding is when you have somebody who's person-centered and they're trained in CBT or TA, they're then an integrative counsellor, aren't they? Because they can integrate the different modalities into their therapeutic work. That's
Yeah.
that you can use CBT or you can use person-centered depending on what the person presents with. So if someone comes to you with grief and loss, you're able to work in a person-centered way. But
Mm,
if then it transpires that actually they've got addictions or there's something they want to
yeah,
change, you've got the skills to use CBT as well, and you
yeah.
don't have to necessarily refer them out or pass them on to someone else.
No, I was told that was more eclectic unless you had equal training in person-centered TBT, CBT even, um, and perhaps TA or psychodynamic or whatever. Yeah.
On the diploma, we did equal amounts maybe, or like sections, maybe 2 or 3 sessions of TA or two or
Mm.
three sessions of psychodynamic psychotherapy. I think I did know, and I've forgotten the difference between eclectic and
Really?
integrative. So I think
Okay.
there is a slight
I
difference.
think
Okay.
Yeah.
eclectic was, yeah, adopting this and that into it. From that's what I was taught.
So you're eclectic.
Yeah.
While both eclectic and integrative therapy draw on multiple approaches, integrative therapy aims to combine different therapeutic techniques into a unified, coherent approach, whereas eclectic therapy uses techniques from different therapies in an ad hoc manner without necessarily integrating them. In essence, integrative therapy seeks to create a new therapeutic approach by blending different modalities, while eclectic therapy is more like having a toolbox of techniques to use as needed.
And that I
Okay.
do remember now, that is similar to what I was thinking.
Mm.
It's how you integrate it in the session. So
Okay.
you wouldn't do a whole session on TA, you might do a bit of TA and then bring in a bit of psychodynamic.
Yeah, which I guess I'm more that way. So that's what you would call integrative.
I won't swear to it, but I think that is that what Google says?
It's what the counsellingtutor.com says according to Google.
Okay.
Go on.
Well,
Pluralistic. Do you want me to Google
pluralistic
pluralistic?
is slightly different in that I think what I was taught, I think, is that you look up and research into what the client needs. So if you felt they needed CBT, you would, learn that or do that with them because that's what they are leaning to.
Pluralistic Therapy, book by John McLeod. Now, he was a famous writer, isn't he, in the realm of therapy. I hope these sessions aren't going to turn into me permanently Google because we don't know things. The fundamental premise is that each client is unique and therefore may need different things from therapy. On this basis, the pluralistic approach creates a framework in which practitioners can integrate a wide variety of understandings and methods into their practice. I mean, isn't that the same with all therapy? All therapy is about the individual, isn't it?
Exactly.
Really?
I guess there are some people or some therapists who are just psychodynamic,
That's
just
true.
CB.
Purely
Yeah.
psychodynamic.
The purists.
Yes, that's the word, purist. So I guess there is that, but the other three are really quite interactive, aren't they?
It's all quite complex, isn't it? And I guess it is just knowing the needs of the client, actually. So the individual needs of the client, and that's more intuitive, I think.
Yeah.
And obviously framed by their story, but you kind of get an intuition about, oh, I think we need to go here. Or,
Would you agree that comes from experience, or do you think that's something that is sort of inherently available to the majority of people that go into counselling as a job?
probably a bit of experience. I think it's a bit of experience. Yeah. But I think you can be quite intuitive, like tuning in to the client or the environment. And I think some people have that ability anyway, just to tune in and pick up the vibes, actually.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think obviously experience lends itself hugely. But I think, naturally, some people have that empathy that just knows there's something not right or something that's different about that person, because they can tune in. Yeah, intuitive.
Do you think people can learn that skill?
No.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you ever met anyone who hasn't had that skill and then you've watched them develop?
What, another counsellor? Yeah, I think people do, don't they? They do develop themselves and their skills and hone in on their own niches. Like I think it's good to have a niche. I never really thought that when I first qualified. I thought you need to do everything, but actually it's really good to have a niche.
What's your niche, Kay?
My niche is addiction and relationships. Yeah. So I suppose that's two niches, but I don't know.
It's better to have a couple of niches or a few things that you're really good at, but it takes a while to figure out what it is that you are good at, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does.
And
Yeah.
what about you, Sharon?
Well, I'm like Kay, I've got more than one. One is massive life change because of health condition, obviously, lived experience. But the other, 'cause I used to do hairdressing and loved working with young people, young adults. Just loved it. So I really love working with young adults now. And following on from something a minute ago, you asked if you can learn that. And I sort of relate it to hairdressing. You can teach someone to layer and graduate and cut a fringe, cut a straight line. And then there's the people who look and think, well, actually, if I cut that regular, it won't look as good if I do this to it and that to it. And I think with counselling, yes, you can teach techniques. Yes, you can teach body language and to read signs. But then there's one or two people, maybe for different clients. So maybe everyone's got something for some clients, but that only you can read them. And see that little bit
That's
deeper.
such an amazing analogy, Sharon. I love
Right.
that, isn't it? Because yeah, you can tell people how to use scissors and you can tell people how to put people in, but can you explain someone how to make them look good? Like how to do what they've asked you to do,
Yeah.
how to fulfill their goals, what they want when they come in, because it's
Yeah.
such a personal thing. Hairdressing is a perfect analogy.
Mm.
I did sort of mention the idea that we were going to be looking at books and coming on here and having a little chat about a book. And then occasionally we're going to get a guest speaker on so we can interrogate them and grill them and share our experiences with them. That's the plan, isn't it? If we can. If between the three of us we've got time and matching schedules, right? So ideally, we're going to try and do this as regularly as we can, but it's looking like it would probably be monthly, won't it? Let's be realistic about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the book that we did mention was Gabor Mate, Scattered Minds. Now, the
Oh,
lovely
my
viewers,
goodness, you've got it in the flesh.
I've got a lovely physical copy,
Wow.
and we've all read this, but at different stages in our lives we've read it. I've read it a while ago, and I haven't read it recently. I'm still trying to get through this one, honestly. This giant one of his, The Myth of Normal.
Okay.
I'm still trying to get through that,
Yeah.
but The Scattered Minds was the one of his that really resonated with me. I love reading Scattered Minds, and I always recommend it to people if they feel like they might have ADHD
Okay.
or if they've got relatives who've got ADHD, because it's so insightful. I really enjoyed reading it.
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember anything about the book as well?
I remember a little bit about the book.
Little bit.
I read it a few years ago, actually. And yeah, saying that about recommending it, I recommended it to a friend who has got, I think, been diagnosed ADHD recently. But he read the book and he thought it was too technical. Now, I didn't
Okay,
really think that, but then I don't
right.
know. So I don't know. That was
Okay.
the layperson's view
Mm.
of it. It
Yeah.
was a bit too technical, and he
Mm.
didn't understand a lot of it. And I mean, it's not he's not stupid. He's a nurse, and so
Mm.
um,
Mm.
he not that he doesn't understand stuff, but yeah, that was his view of it.
And I can understand if you've got ADHD, it might be difficult to read a book like this,
Definitely, yeah.
but you can always listen to it because they do it on audiobook.
I listened to it.
Yeah.
I cheat.
Mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same. Mine's audible. Yeah.
What did you
I
think of the
always,
book, Sharon?
I haven't finished it yet.
Hmm.
I'm about 2/3 of the way through. I love it because he's taught me a lot he feels a lot of ADHD is caused
Yeah, that is what he's saying.
just by things that happen around you. That ADHD can be because of circumstance. So it's nature and nurture, rather than just nature.
Is it fair to say that your childhood and the conditions and the experiences that you have directly create or cause ADHD, addiction, and autoimmune issues?
That's right. If you look at children in poverty or who experience racialized circumstances, they're more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD. The children of women with postpartum depression are more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD. The children of women who are stressed during pregnancy are more likely to be diagnosed with ADHD.
Gabor Mate, I absolutely love him. I think he's so vulnerable and he's such an intelligent person. And it's really, when you look back at how we've treated people that have found themselves in A&E or, you know, injured because they're drunk and they've had some sort of impulsive behaviour and they've found themselves in need of stitches, or trauma people. And none of the doctors have sat them down and said, so what's happened for you in your life? What's happening for you? What's going on? No, they go, oh, you've got an addiction, off you go. Or they go,
Yeah.
oh, you've got, I don't know, whatever it is that they think you've got anxiety, you've got some autoimmune disease, off you go. And they don't, do they? They might started to do it a bit now, but can either of you to remember a time when you've ever been sat in front of a doctor's and they've ever said to you, what's happening for you in your life, rather than what are your symptoms?
Never.
No, not really. No, never.
Time when you've sat in front of the doctors and really all you wanted someone to do was to sit and have a listen for 5 minutes to listen to you tell so you could say, well, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened.
Yeah. They're always too busy, aren't they?
With the idea of trauma
Yeah.
and treating it and treating people who have been traumatized or suffered from trauma as though, well, it's a medical condition. That's the whole idea, isn't it, behind this scattered minds idea, that instead of it being treated as though, well, it's biological and it's genetic and this is why you've got it, which could be true. Like I say, it's half and half, right? We don't know what percentage
Yeah.
that is. There's no way of measuring it, really. Has your brain responded that way because of all the trauma that you've had?
Yeah.
No one stopped to say, let's talk about this
No.
traumatized child in a 32-year-old body or whatever.
Yeah.
The problem is, why am I having so much emotional pain? And how come I don't know how to deal with emotional pain? Why is there so much stress in my life? And how is it that I can't regulate my stresses without an addictive expression? The problem arose because early in childhood, you were somehow hurt.
Because people criticise it, we just have to give them a mention because it's not all one-sided.
Oh, yeah.
Let's have a little look. It says, Mate, and it's the clue that they don't agree with him. In fact, they've used his surname rather than his first name as well, right? Mate is a medical doctor. Critics point out he lacks specific credentials in neurology, psychiatry, or ADHD research. Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because they're saying his experience doesn't count, you know, even though he's been on the planet and doing all this work, it's all anecdotal and there's no proof of what he's saying, you know?
Yeah.
No scientific proof. Mate's dismissive tone towards established research has frustrated many, as one reader put it. Trauma can certainly complicate, but Mate describes it as a cause of ADHD, sometimes multi-generational, and this is not supported. Because you know this thing in the brain, the little telomeres, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. You know the little thing in your brain, you've got these little things that are like little antennas at the start of your life. They're really long in your brain. And then as you get older or you suffer from stress or trauma, they get shorter. And so by the time you get old and nearly ready to die, they're really, really short.
Oh, wow.
And so they're sort of a pretty good measure of what's happening in the brain. And with people with ADHD, they're shorter or something. There's a change in them that they can see. But see, to my mind, I know, but there's obviously the research that they must have done about this to figure that out is just a little bit beyond me. But there's this whole idea that scientifically you can show, okay, people with ADHD have got this, look. And then they go, oh, look, that's why. But they don't go, oh, all these people that have got this have also had this trauma.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't link it up.
No.
Yeah.
I think it's because they can't measure it. And I think it's because the money that goes into the research, the scientific people that put the money in go, well, is there going to be something quantifiable at the end? And if the answer's no, the money's not going in.
No.
Is it? It's like saying, well, can we measure how people feel? Well, why would you want to do that then?
Yeah.
Well, because, you know, we might figure out that people's autoimmune disease is the cause because of how they're feeling.
Why isn't it so much of the NHS therapy was CBT based because they could measure that?
Well, they could, quantify it
Yeah,
a little bit, but
more
yeah,
so.
maybe.
Yeah,
Do you think that's what it was? They could tick boxes and say, oh, yeah, we've done this exercise, we've
Yeah.
filled out these boxes, we've done this
yeah,
worksheet, we've measured people on a scale of 0 to 10,
yeah.
and so we can show what we've done.
And because it was, measurable, you could X, Y, and Z. Like I'm saying, you're from a person-centered point of view, but unless someone says, "Oh, I feel much better and I'm okay now," you can't measure what you've done.
Because they do measure it. NHS and NICE guidelines measure it by the called PHQ 9
Yes.
and the GAD 7. So that's how they measure it, and they measure it before when you first start the therapy, and then when you finish. But it's so subjective. Those questions that they ask you in those documents.
Assessments,
Yeah.
assessments, aren't they?
Assessments, yeah, they're very subjective. I don't like them.
But if the client is really being honest with themselves and filling out that assessment, they get something quantifiable. And if they're honest again at the end, they get something quantifiable.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that sometimes you can see change and from
But
that.
then you might see the change if their granny dies 2 weeks before or a week before they fill out the last one. They're going to be high on the PHQ.
Yes.
The depressive one, they will be depressed because granny's died, and that will go on for a few weeks, and that will affect the score. It might have come in for anxiety, and their anxiety might be okay, so they'll be maybe low on that, but the scores it's going to be a bit high on everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying that when the people come into the NHS to use those scores, it's sort of skewed by whatever is happening in their life rather than actually how that therapy has helped them or not.
Yes, and I because I do my insurance work,
Of course.
and I have to use those things. I don't like them. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? How we all feel differently about them.
Yeah, because some people put a lot of value on them. I'm not sure how I feel about them, if I'm honest. Sometimes I think, oh, yeah, that's a really good idea. Other times I look and think, no. Funny enough, I looked at them again the other day because I haven't used them for a while. I don't know how I feel.
Yeah, and also some clients like them and some clients don't value them.
The structured clients, I think, probably like them.
Yeah.
The ones that like structure.
Yeah, and the ones that want a number, I think it's quantifiable. And that would be great if we could just measure ourselves, put ourselves on a little wristband, say, how am I feeling? And the watch says you're on 60% today, you need to go and have a nap.
Yes.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
Only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Sure, it's got to be out there already. We don't know about it.
Yeah.
Mate's entire argument rests on his claim that ADHD is caused by early childhood stress. We know from rigorous research that ADHD is highly genetic, right? And this is the argument.
Both ADD and addictions originate in childhood emotional loss. Because the tuning out of ADD is not a disease, like what they say. Again, it's a genetic disease. Nonsense. Tuning out is not a disease. What is tuning out? Why do you have the capacity to tune out? It's a coping mechanism. When stress is too much, and if I were to stress you right now by being abusive, whatever, you could have 3 healthy options. One is you could walk out the door. The other, you could seek help. Third is you could fight back and assert yourself.
Now, the business about ADHD being caused by early childhood stress, even that is a bit of a twist on what he's saying, because he's also saying not just childhood, but pre-birth, when you're in the womb, if the mum's suffered some stress, and also pre-birth. There's actually studies, aren't there, to show that
I didn't know that.
sperm, if they've been stressed, they can have offspring. I think this study was done in rats, in all honesty.
Yeah.
The child is born with the same level of stress reactions, even when the mum hasn't had any stress. The mum's come from a secure attachment, the mum hasn't had any issues, the environment is fine. But if the dad has had, and vice versa, the same is true. If you
Yeah.
get a securely attached dad and the mum's
Yeah.
had all sorts of stresses, the baby still will be stressed.
Wow.
That kind of links into the transgenerational stress, generational shame, or transgener. But what affects the generation before? And they did a study on rats. They gave rats poison every hour, like in their feed, and so they poisoned them every hour. And the offspring of the rats that they'd poisoned wouldn't eat the feeds with poison in it. They learn in the end. The adults learn, and then I might have that slightly wrong, but
Right.
if you read the book, if we read the book, it didn't start with you.
Oh, go on. Should we read that for next time? It
Shall
didn't
we?
start with you. Yeah, and any
Yeah.
of our viewers who want to have a little read along with us, you can read It Didn't Start With You, or I'll put some words on so we know what we're reading.
Yeah.
And if anyone's got any opinions about that book, they can feel free to leave a comment. And if anyone's got any opinions about what we're saying now, feel free to leave a comment. Yeah.
It really articulates it very well. That is the transgenerational shame or
Okay.
anxiety or whatever it's called. The generation before, 3 generations before, can affect what the offspring like
Yeah.
in the next 3 generations.
And so we're all carrying the generational trauma from three
Yes.
people ago.
Yeah.
And you think, because to my mind, what springs to mind is things like abandonment or poverty mentality because of the war that happened. So the whole country, everybody was the World
Yeah.
War, everyone was
Definitely.
affected by the fear of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's everyone.
It's people talk about this generation, they say, oh, woke and this and that. But actually, as you were saying, Kate, every generation is a product of what's happened before. So our parents were in the war. I know my husband's mum was, what's it called, when they are sent away to live when they're little.
Oh, yeah. What was that called when they sent the children away? Children of War. What was it
I
called?
can't think of the word now.
Evacuation, was it?
That's it. As she was evacuated
She was
with the family she didn't know. The impact that's had on him. You can
Yeah.
now I've done the counselling training. I thought, oh, that's why you're like that or like this or and then our children are again a product of the way we behaved with them. And we behave because of yeah.
Yeah.
Gabor Mate talks about what we call ADHD. He refers to a lot as ADD, which you hear more of these days. So that is the same, but without the hyperactivity, isn't it?
I understand like it's a more of a depressive ADHD, where
Ah,
ADHD, the hyperactivity, brings
so
up the anxiety, but also the energy as well.
yeah.
You look at who is it? Sam Thompson. Look at his
Yeah.
energy.
It's like a
Yeah.
Duracell bunny. That's how they go and go and go and go and go, don't they?
Right.
Until they don't, bang, and then they crash.
ADHD is going to impact my life till I'm dead. I have 3 things. I've got tic syndrome, autistic, and I've got ADHD. So I've ended with none. Came out 3, and I don't have a problem with that. I struggle with emotional control. What if I am actually trying, but I can't understand things the way you understand things? What brings you here today then? Well, I'm doing a show about ADHD and how it impacts my life. I just feel like I should talk about it a little bit more. Well, we both know how much you like talking, and I do conveniently have some questions to ask you about it.
But I think also years ago, girls weren't noticed because they often have the ADD variety. So
Yes.
teenage boys, it's obviously associated years ago with teenage boys
Yes.
bouncing off the walls in class
It
and
was,
misbehaving.
wasn't it?
And that would be, oh, they've got ADHD. But the girls wouldn't be noticed.
Interesting. I won't say who it was, but when they were a youngster, a female youngster, and I remember they went to an open air concert just at Chalkpool Park, and they said, "Oh, her friend said, "Oh, it's always like you're drunk." When she wasn't drinking, she was like 13, 14.
Because
So
she was
it
out there.
was
Was it?
that hyperactivity, and then they come down and they regulate or whatever. But yeah, just that whoa every so often.
Masking, isn't it? Like girls mask it more than the
Yes.
boys.
Yeah.
And I think that's societal as well, because girls can't be seen to be like too rowdy. They've got to be nice and gentle.
Yeah.
It's that rhyme, isn't it? What a little
Yeah.
boy's made of.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was
Birds and
nice.
snails and puppy dog.
Puppy
Who
dog
is it?
Yeah.
tails.
Puppy
Tails.
dog tails. And little girls are all sugar and spice. And
Yeah.
that's the societal culture,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. It definitely was when I was being brought up. Girls were sort of really, not encouraged to be loud or noisy or be engineers still. Even in the 60s and early 70s, there was no, yeah, go on, you can be a train driver. I mean, it wasn't on the cards, was it? You weren't, you can go travelling, you can do what you want, you can be as loud as you want. It was more like, you've got to be nice and quiet. And why are you speaking? Because people will only approve of you if you're not shutting up. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they like it's the footballers, women's football. There
Oh,
wasn't any like my sister always loved football and she could never get in. She had to play with the boys, like if they let her play in a boys' team,
yes.
but normally they wouldn't let them play in a boys' team.
No.
So, so now, I mean, it's really turned around. Yeah.
Can you remember what messages you were given at school about playing with boys or playing football? What can you remember anyone saying you can't play with the boys because you'll get hurt?
Oh, yes.
Because I was such a rebel anyway, I was always like doing what I shouldn't be doing. And I think half of that is because I have got ADHD. I think I'm ADHD. I've not been diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure with the clients I see with it and
You can
with
recognise it.
the training I've done and the books I've read, I'm pretty sure I am because I
Yeah.
didn't have that awareness even. Like a lot of the time, I didn't know that I was meant to be gentle and kind, and I did climb trees and fall into ponds and things like that.
Did it anyway. Is there anything that stops you from wanting to get a diagnosis?
I don't think it's worth it now. I think I know. I think I know, and I can manage it. And because I'm getting towards like old age. And I think I can manage it. When I was young, I really couldn't manage it. I didn't have a clue what was going on. And because of the counselling and the stuff that I've done, I think that I can manage it now. And it's probably a bit of a rigmarole to get diagnosed. And I
Do you
don't.
know, I think exactly the same because I've even thought I've got certain traits but when both of my children have been through the process, well, one is undergoing it. So my daughter it was about 3 years, and he's been on the list on going through the motions now for about a year. So you just can't be bothered.
Yeah, because they've got their whole lives ahead of them.
Yeah.
So there's
But
this
why
feeling
bother?
that why bother now?
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
thinking about the genetic component of this, the argument about ADHD, do you think it's likely to have come from you or your husband? Can you see anything in your family patterns that you think, oh yeah, they're like Auntie Eileen, or
Interesting. Noah, my son, is very much like me. So that my daughter, I would say it really resonates with me what he's saying about circumstance, because I do think I don't know whether she would have been ADHD if her life had been different when she was young.
because of the attachment and you having a stroke.
Yeah. She was, a toddler, 3.5. So she'd had a life for Riley.
Noah was the baby.
Yes. Noah was the baby, and life had been really hunky-dory for her. And she will say it as well. I mean, she just never got angry. She didn't get upset. I was in Asda watching a baby cry and thinking, oh, that poor child. My child is so well mothered. Actually, she wasn't. She just had a fab life. No, her nature was so calm.
Researched on. If anyone out there wants to research us, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure I've got ADHD,
yeah,
like, because I feel it when I'm stressed or if I've got too much on,
yeah,
but I'm aware that that's when I'm going to do something that I used to call stupid, like lose my keys or do some
right.
overlook a
Yeah,
detail. Because I'm aware of it,
yeah.
I sort of know how to have coping strategies. And now I'm older, obviously it's not as powerful. And that was going to be my next question. Have you found it's got easier as you've got older, not just from experience of all that things happening, or I'm beside myself, so I've got to take myself away, or has it become less? Your ADHD is less powerful as you've got older. It's just weakened naturally.
Maybe. I think maybe it has weakened naturally, or because I can still get days where I'm chasing my tail. Like, but if I remember to, okay, I'm going to walk out the door now and go out. Have I got my keys? Have I got my phone? Have I got the parcel that I'm meant to be taking to the parcel shop? So because I can go to post a parcel and forget to take the parcel. Um,
Funny.
I don't think necessarily that weakens as you get older, but maybe your awareness grows.
yeah.
So, as Kay said, you learn to manage it. So that, funny enough, I was saying to someone the other day, when you leave the house, you know you need those three things. So make sure got three things on you every time you leave the house.
Yeah, then it becomes a habit, or hopefully. But then if
Yeah,
you slow yourself down and don't just dash out the door, um, you can slow down and think, have I got everything? Where am I
yeah,
going? Do I
yeah,
need to take something specific?
So
yeah,
it's sort of like putting in a new habit of doing the door check, not doing the
yeah,
door dash, and
Yeah.
yeah.
just stopping yourself at that moment, taking a pause, taking a breath, and making that habit.
By the way, I didn't give my advice to a client, it was a friend. I just thought, yeah, you don't advise clients. But
But
yeah,
this is the thing, advice and telling clients what to do. I mean, it's a fine line, isn't it? If
yeah,
you've got like these are hints
a
and tips, these are some things
suggestion.
that are going to help. But if you know, okay, managing ADHD, again, back to those worksheets, there's 20 things that you can
Yeah,
recommend for people to manage. Is that advice? Is that guidance? Is that telling people what to do? How
yeah,
about, like you say, suggestion, try this, see how it feels for you?
yeah, yes, yeah,
Yeah, I think the suggestion and try this and see if you like it, see if it works.
yeah,
That's a good way to go forward. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, see
yeah,
how it feels. Because sometimes people with ADHD, and I don't know how you feel about this or think about this, they sometimes have this idea that if they try something once and it doesn't work, then not only have they failed and then they feel terrible about themselves, but then they're terrible at everything. Everything's rubbish then, and they can go full drama, right? And think I'm rubbish at everything and everything's shit.
yeah,
Wait a
yeah,
minute,
Yeah.
right? And that's not true. Obviously, it's just that they haven't been able to change the car tire because they've never done it
yeah,
before, because they're learning, because this is a new skill. And everyone takes time to learn things. And no
yeah.
one is brilliant at things the first time. Why would anyone
No,
expect to be?
and no one is brilliant at everything. That's why that's why you have teams that work, because one person's good at this and another person's good at that. And that's okay.
Know this little list that I printed out and,
Yeah.
rapidly handed you before vanishing into the ether.
Yeah.
Have you looked at any of those and thought, oh, yeah, that sort of resonates with me, that question?
And I was looking at the false self. And so that's a concept referring to a persona or facade.
What
Um,
number is that?
oh,
Yeah.
where is it? Oh, perhaps it wasn't even.
You've made that up. It's a false question.
And referring to the false self.
Go on
So,
then, what was you thinking about the false self?
so the false self is a concept something we construct, like masking. So with ADHD, we've been talking about masking. Girls are better at it than boys. And so it's when you don't feel that you're accepted or that behavior isn't accepted in this environment, like you were saying, Tamazin, little girls have to be sweet and nice and sugar and spice. And so if you're a chatty little girl or like an active little girl, it won't be accepted. So we try to fit in and mimic the behavior of other people, and that's masking. So this false self is a construct. It's something we construct, and behind it is our true self. Gabor Mate's interventions, compassionate inquiry, this kind of relates to that as well.
I call it compassionate inquiry. So inquire in a compassionate way. Not why did I do this, but why did I do this?
Right.
The first one is not a question, it's a statement, it's a self-condemnation. The second one is a question. Wonder why I did this. It soothed my pain. And so what your friend said that it served you, so thank it, love it, but let go of it, is absolutely right. I call it the stupid friend. The stupid friend is the one who helped you in a particular way at a certain time, but it can't learn that that way doesn't function anymore.
Right.
That instead of helping, now it's hurting. So it's a friend because it's really trying to help, but it's stupid because it's not learning that you're no longer that 3-year-old or that 5-year-old or that 15-year-old, you know? So this leads to the question of trauma, because it's one thing to recognize that all this originates in childhood pain. It's quite another to transform that pain. And for that, we have to understand what trauma is. So people often think that trauma is what happens to you. So trauma is a divorce when you were small and your parents fighting. Trauma is your mother's depression. Trauma is your father's alcoholism. Trauma is your parents' argumentation. Trauma is physical or sexual abuse or some loss. Those aren't the traumas. Those are traumatic. But the trauma is not what happens to you. The trauma is what happens inside you. And as a result of these traumatic events, what happens inside you is you get disconnected from your emotions, and you're disconnected from your body, and you have difficulty being in the present moment, and you develop a negative view of your world, and a negative view of yourself, and a defensive view of other people. And these perspectives keep showing up in your life in the present because they're the stupid friends. And so the issue is not just to recognize what happened 10, 15, 30, however many years ago, but to actually recognize the manifestations in the present moment and to transcend them. And how do you do that? By reconnecting with yourself, by restoring the connection with your body primarily and with your emotions that you lost. And once you do, when you found these things again, then you have what we call recovery. Because what does it mean to recover something? It means to find it again. So what is it that people find when they recover? They find themselves. And the loss of self is the essence of trauma. So the real purpose of addiction treatment, mental health treatment, any kind of healing is reconnection.
So that's what really struck you, resonated with you, the idea that people suffering from ADHD generally find coping strategies, either that's making a false self, behaving like people-pleasing types where you're trying to make other people like you, suffering from RSD at the same time, thinking everyone hates you, thinking that other people are annoyed with you and you haven't done anything. Coping using addictions, alcohol, drugs and alcohol is another coping strategy. If a child finds that and this is, excuse me for jumping about, but Gabor Mate does talk about the idea of if a person can't escape from a situation, what are they going to do? Like if you're traumatized and you're in a situation that you can't leave and you get that fight or flight feeling, you can't, what's your option? Your option is to escape in your mind, isn't it? Just to sort of create a dissociative state and do the daydreaming.
Do that as children by disassociating, and then when we're teenagers we find alcohol or drugs and then it does it for us. And I feel like that's how the addictions might manifest in ADHD, because there is a link between ADHD and addiction. So, and I think Gabor Mate has done a lot of work around that as well.
Why am I liking pleasure? If you're feeling shy and isolated and it takes a few drinks to loosen your tongue, what happened to you that you feel so scared of people? In other words, the addiction is not the problem. The addiction is actually an attempt at a solution.
So, yeah, so this true self, a lot of people don't really know what their true self is. I feel like a lot of my clients feel like the true self comes from a secure attachment, which we kind of touched on. And then you can be yourself and not worry about it and not have any of these insecurities and connect on a level with lots of people. The false self is a barrier to that true self, and then people feel lost and lonely and disconnected.
And low self-esteem and feelings of isolation.
And like you said, Tamsin, feeling like they've done something wrong or their friends don't like them, and it's a disconnect, and that is because the false self is there masking, and they don't really know that they're doing it. There's a lot of denial, or or just being unaware of it, actually, I think.
But that's what resonated with me, the low self-esteem part. That so many people with ADHD, and when you think about it, it does make sense, because they are told off constantly. Calm down, stop misbehaving, sit still, don't do. So, and their self-esteem is on the floor. So they, like you say, Kay, put on this mask and try and be that person that gets the praise, but so much is external validation.
Definitely. And it also, two things I was thinking there. One, there's a really good book called Small Talk by Richard and Roxanne Pink, which is a sort of, it's not quite so highbrow as The Scattered Minds, and it's easier for people to be able to absorb that. And it's all about that sort of thing, the idea that you've had 20,000 negative messages sent your way by the time you're 10, compared to your contemporary who hasn't had those messages. And then I've forgotten what the other thing was. That's two things I was thinking. I was thinking something about that. It'll come back to me in a minute. It's this idea of imposter syndrome. People have low self-esteem, and then imposter syndrome is another really common sort of trait of people with ADHD. It's almost feeling like, well, somebody's going to come and tell me off in a minute. Somebody's going to catch me for not being good enough at what I'm doing, what I'm saying I'm doing. I'm not good enough. And then learning how to handle that, and this is really what we sort of work in, areas of how a person can change what they're believing about themselves so that they feel better about themselves. Because we're uncovering all the problems and recognizing all the issues and all the symptoms, and we want to work on how to help people feel better and to overcome this and to change it and to heal it, right? And part of the first step of that is accepting and recognizing they're doing it so they can accept themselves for who they are, and working on positive dialogue about themselves, right? So that they can improve, or at least neutralize and try and undo those thousands and thousands of messages that they've had in their life.
Because a lot of those ADHD people are very smart and they work really hard, because as much as sometimes they can hyper-focus, sometimes they can not focus at all. So they lose focus or they can hyper-focus, depending on what type of ADHD it is. But then they climb up the career ladder and become like the top of their field. And then they can't believe that, why I was the kid that kept getting told off. I couldn't remember what lesson I was in. I couldn't remember to bring my PE kit. I kept being late for everything. So how comes I've got to the top of this ladder? And because they're quite smart, actually.
The thing, we know we're going to run out of time, don't we? Because we're stretched for time today. I think we should continue this in our next discussion. I mean, we can carry on for a little bit, but I think next time we could carry on with this topic because it's so interesting. If you two are happy to do that.
You mentioned, Richard and
Roxanne Pink.
So I read that book, Dirty Laundry, by them. And well, I thought it was brilliant. And going back to what you said, that Roxanne, some subjects at school, she smashed out the park. But she says, and this is interesting, because of that hyper focus, she would focus on something, learn it, do brilliantly in the exam, but not have absorbed it into understanding. So she couldn't then transfer it. All she knew was the right answer.
Oh,
Does that
okay.
make sense? And yet, obviously, her skills in other areas are phenomenal. And
She's a songwriter, isn't she? She's got creative
Oh,
skills. She performs in front of people.
yeah, that was the book. I personally found it so inspiring. How, they are incredible people.
Have either of you watched the Osbournes on MTV?
No, I don't
I
think
might
I've
have
watched the whole
seen
thing.
one episode a long time ago.
I would like to see it. I think I've seen little bits of it.
Okay, well, it's on Amazon Prime, obviously because Ozzy
Okay.
Osbourne's died. Yeah, it's on
Yes.
Amazon Prime. So I'm on season 3 now because
Wow.
you can watch it for free if you watch the adverts, and there's only like one advert at the beginning of each episode, so it's free.
Okay.
Because it's against my religion to pay for Amazon Prime now because I've given them so much money over the years, I can't do it anymore. And Ozzy Osbourne has got ADHD, and you can see it in action, all the things. Yeah, you can see him
Oh,
bouncing
I'm
off
going to watch that.
people, just saying things. This is the thing that I find really interesting at the moment. This has come my way so many times. You get a person who's really suffering and struggling with ADHD, and someone will say something like, I'm not listening to your opinion. Like his daughter will say something like, I'm not listening to your opinion. And that's all she said. She's put her boundary in place. I'm happy with my hair the way it is. I'm walking away. I'm not listening to your opinion. And he then goes over to his wife. She's just been really horrible to me. She's been really mean to me, because he's really taking it on board and upsetting her and taking it as criticism. And that's something that
Oh,
people with ADHD do. So to someone who hasn't got ADHD, that's just okay. So she's been a little bit off, been a little bit rude, but she's put her boundaries in place. She could have said it nicer, but on him it's landed like she hates him and he's in real
yeah.
trouble and he needs some help because
Oh
he feels
my
terrible.
goodness.
And he does that over and over again. But it is part of the condition that he's going to feel really powerfully badly, as if something's really terrible's happened because of the conditioning. He's really having an actual real, for him it feels real, I've been really told off.
Yeah.
It's not like he can change that. Like to everyone else, it's like, oh, you've touched a nerve. What on earth is wrong with you? And then you look at that person, you think, what is going on over there? And they're really behaving as if they've been stabbed. And actually, all someone said is, well, this is my opinion about my stuff. It's not even your stuff. It's my stuff.
And now he thinks that she hates him.
Yeah. And ADHD, like you say, that is something, someone with ADHD, oh, you hate me. Oh, why are you getting at me? When actually, no, I'm not getting at you.
Really not.
Me, that's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, what was it he said about his son? Oh, that's right. He said to his son something about, this is my house. And the son said, Jack, he said, this is our home, which he had every right to say that. He's an adult and it was his home, and Ozzy was trying to lay the laws down. But if you watch this program, right, there's not a lot of laws laying down goes on in the house. He says do something, they do the absolute opposite, right? So it's always a bit shambolic. But Jack stood up and said, yeah, but it's our home, and he had every right to say that. And then Ozzy went straight up to Sharon and he's like, I've just been bollocked in the kitchen. He's really had a go at me, right? And he didn't. All he did was say, it's our home, right? Even though he did use a louder voice, he did raise his voice a little bit, but then he left the room. There was no conflict or confrontation head to head or anything.
Yeah.
But Ozzy's reaction was, I need Sharon to come and help here. And it went on for days, him like feeling sad and having to like apologise and make his son breakfast and all sorts of. Because other people, if you don't understand what's happening, you could think that these older people, because obviously he's older, are just being spoilt and behaving like children. But he's doing the best that he can do with what he's got going on up here.
And he's struggling to self-regulate, isn't he? He's and goes to Sharon for his
Yes, but
like
external.
Sharon's like his parent, he's adult.
Mm,
Yeah.
And he's like hers.
Can I just say something that I personally find frustrating, because you get people jump up saying now, oh, everyone's after a diagnosis these days. And I years ago I did some teacher training. And they said, and you'll remember this, but everyone learns differently. So some people learn visually, some people learn kinesthetically, and some people learn audio, or whatever that is. Yeah. So, and if only people had recognized many years ago that ADHD, the autism, I think they even say dyslexia is part of the neurodiverse situation now. If people had been recognised, well, this is the way you work, so we're going to put you with that teacher, and you'll do better with that teacher because you're logical, or and Gabor Mate, in that book, he talks about him when he did a 3-year period of teaching, and how certain ones in his class laughed his way because he was so not uniform and didn't research and plan lessons. But there were other people in his class who that wasn't any good for, because it wasn't structured enough. And that now my thinking is, actually, if people could be almost diagnosed at preschool, right, you are this way, and that's okay, you will respond to that person better, and not call her ADHD disorder. ADHD difference is better.
I think that's a good point, Sharon. But then when you think maybe 50 years ago, maybe a bit more than that, but if you had ADHD or autism, you could be locked up and in an asylum. And so we have come a long way. We know much more about the brain. And hopefully we'll get to that point where we can match the teacher with the children.
Not expect the children to change.
Exactly.
Which is what's been happening. Okay then, well, I think we're going to draw this podcast to a close for today, and hopefully we can do this all again soon. Thank you ever so much for your time, Sharon. It's been wonderful. Thank you. And thank you, Kay. We've got to figure out how we're going to end. Sorry, I talked over you again.
That's
you want to say that again, Kay? Go on.
Just saying thank you, Tamsin and Sharon, for being part of the podcast. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you, Sharon. If only I could stop talking over you, that would be great. I mean, it helps, doesn't it, that it lights up and we can just see who's talking. That's brilliant in itself, isn't it? I like that.
Can I just say something? Because it is a trait of ADHD to chirp in and talk over people. And as we all think we are kind of neurodiverse, is it surprising we have this struggle?
Good point.
I'm surprised at all. I have to try harder. But at least pay attention when I'm doing it so we can just repeat what we said, because the editing is going to be a nightmare.